Good morning, everybody. I hope this video finds you well. Today I want to talk about the United States Nuclear Posture Review. It was out. They just did it and just in time for the elections. Basically, this review is a review of the nuclear strategy that the United States uses. And I'm going to give you the short and quick skinny on it. Basically, it has thrown away all previous work in favor of first strike nuclear scenario. That should scare the living fucking shit out of all of you. Doesn't matter which documents or agreements the United States has, this policy says it means nothing. It means the United States can just say he's an enemy and launch nuclear weapons, and that's it. And don't tell me, well, the United States signed an agreement with China, the United States signed an agreement with Russia. Have you seen all what the United States agreements with Russia has amounted to? The United States has just torn them up, hasn't it? Trade agreements, energy agreements, shipping agreements, ownership agreements, banking agreements, torn it up. So what makes you think that nuclear agreements aren't torn up? Same thing goes with China. So let's just cut through the bullshit. Situation is the United States is a rogue nation with nuclear weapons, and they're not afraid to use them. And in conventional weapons, it's all failing left and right. If you think the United States is winning the war in Ukraine through proxy, you're hallucinating. You're taking too much microdot, people. You're hallucinating. Get off that drugs. Get off that stuff. Okay? What does it mean? What does this mean? Does it mean the United States is going to get away with this? That if it builds up towards a war with another country, that it can just press a button? No. What this means is something completely different, and I'm going to explain it to you. What this means, people, is that China, Russia, India, Pakistan, the whole rest of the world now realize the United States can call you an enemy and start lobbing nuclear weapons at you with no consequence as far as their legal ramifications are concerned. And that means that these countries are best served to wipe the United States out before it does that. Known as preemptive first strike. And I know there's some in the audience that say, well, sure, Russia has 6,000 nuclear weapons, but it's damn near collapsed right now because it's been sanctioned to nothingness. That's not the case. If you've still been drinking that electric Kool-Aid, you need a bitch slap to reality. Bitch slap, be a bitch slap. Now, but you say, yeah, but China's an easy target. They've only got 300-some nuclear weapons. Who's counting? Do you really know? Let me tell you something. That number is a figure from the 1960s. You telling me that China hasn't done any development work on delivery systems, nuclear systems since then? Is that what you're telling me? You're telling me that China would, of course, announce to the world all its nuclear weapons? Is that what you're telling me? You think China doesn't announce how many Jeeps it has? You think they're going to tell you how many nuclear weapons? Well, we have experts. Yeah, I know. Experts estimate these numbers. These experts. Have you really took a good hard look at who these experts are? Experts are saying China's going to collapse any day now. There's people who believe it with their heart and soul. China's going to collapse. Nice. just saw a couple of comments this morning. I was like, Jesus Christ, are you that fucking moronic? Guy's never been to China, never bought a house in China, knows nothing about the real estate industry, but he's suddenly an expert because he read an article by some analyst out of the CIA. Oh, excuse me, a retired CIA analyst. You know, people, Sun Tzu on the art of war. Sun Tzu, the art of war. General. You know, China's been fighting wars, you know, for the last 6,000 years. Just because they're peaceful now doesn't mean they are not survivors. They're certainly not pacifists. They just want a peaceful life. But, you know, they've been fighting wars far, far longer than even Europe was a twinkling in the eye of Cro-Magnon man, okay? And they're pretty fucking good at it. And one of the generals, Sun Tzu, he wrote The Art of War, and it's a pretty good treatise. And one of the things he says in it, and I'm going to paraphrase it, you got your English translations, and they're good, I guess. But basically, you never fight a war against somebody that you do not understand. There's a story about one of the many wars that the various individual nations of China fought. And in one case, there was this other nation. The soldiers had no idea what the nation was, except that they were fierce fighters. So the general of the other nation says, I got an idea. So he goes ahead and he makes these helmets, only he makes them 3 times larger than they normally would be. And he made these large swords 3 times larger than they normally would be. And then he made these shields that were 3 times larger. So then he makes these tents that are 3 times larger. Now he knows that the spies, the reconnaissance of the attacking army, has no idea about this army or what it's capable of, but that they're getting ready to attack. So he makes these big tents with big arms and big swords and big helmets and big face shields, and he sets them around. Then he has the troops ride out. So the reconnaissance team thinks that, okay, they deserted the camp to go looking for food. And so they go into the camp and they see these big swords. They see these big helmets. They see these big face shields and chest plates and these enormous tents. And they're like, fuck, we're fighting this army of giants. And they took a couple of swords back to the general that they're commanding, and the general turns around and walks away. And this is a true story, not a fantasy. You have to know what you're up against if you're really going to fight it. I tell you that I think it's well understood, China well understood what America is capable of. Both the pros and the cons. And I can guarantee you this, that China will annihilate as many pros that it can and use the cons so that it attacks itself from within. I can tell you that. And if you think that China is just this wimpy little army, or it's just only defensive, or that it's just got a handful of nuclear weapons, you got another thing coming, people. China is a fucking lethal dragon. So this nuclear posture review is a dangerous step. Hopefully, the best we can hope for the United States government is gridlock. Let's hope. But, you know, it's politically expedient on both parties to hate China. So gridlock or not, it looks like more anti-China stuff's coming, and that's truly unfortunate. American industry not only been decimated, but they've been, the teeth and the claws they've been declawed. They can't do anything at all about it. But we're going to see some interesting stuff that's going to happen domestically in the next couple of years. You'll see. My guess is there's going to be no significant change. Things are going to get worse. And, you know, that's my strong belief. And that's my thoughts on the nuclear posture review in America right now, for whatever it's worth. And however and whatever happens, do the best you can. Be positive, do your affirmations, be kind to dogs and cats and other people, and remember, I believe in you. Take care of yourself.